My name is Insane Raven, and today on IO Reviews, I'm going to be reviewing 47 Meters Down. It's honestly, it is the Jaws sequel we should have gotten. But we're going to talk about this, okay? Now, for complete honesty, and so you guys kind of know where I'm coming from, horror movies aren't exactly my jam. I don't understand how people watch them on a day-to-day basis and act like they're crack, but that's just me. That being said, this is a horror thriller movie. I really wouldn't call it a horror film. I'd call it more of a thriller because it does what it does very effectively for someone who's not accustomed to the genre. Now, I personally really like this film. I thought the leadings it gives you in the beginning of the film to kind of like show you, hey, as a viewer, you have to be watching for this because it's important type things. These are things that are, with this information that we're giving you, is going to make the rest of the film more tense. It's going to intensify. Sorry, I had to hiccup because I've been drinking tea. It's going to intensify those moments, so you know what really is at stake here. And I think the movie does it pretty well. Now, again, to be honest, I don't really know a lot about diving, so I don't know how accurate it actually is, and how scary and how tense some of the moments should be because of my lack of diving knowledge. But I really do enjoy this film, and the entire atmosphere of being mostly underwater makes everything really tense. Kate, I do want to make sure that's Kate. Yeah, Kate and Lisa, the two sisters. I do have IMDb up because it's been a bit, and I wanted to make sure I was saying things right. Kate and Lisa's relationship, well, I'm not completely buying. That's not really important for the movie, which seems weird, but it's pretty much. The movie starts out pretty quick. Within 10 minutes, they're in the cage and shit has gone awry. And pretty much, it doesn't matter who these people are to each other. It just matters that they are now stuck in a fucking cage 47 meters down. Below. In the depths? What the fuck is this movie called? Not important. But it gets to the point right away. And for a movie that's only an hour and 20 minutes, I believe, if I saw that right. Wanna make sure. Yeah, an hour and 30 minutes. It doesn't feel like it's that long. With that 10 minutes it takes to get started and get situated, know why everyone's here, know why everyone's kind of where we are. I really appreciate it. Well, the movie, the basis it takes to get us where we're going, in a way, to get us like. How we get into the cage is kind of stupid. Pretty much, one of the sisters just broke up with her boyfriend, and it's this emotional time for her. But she wants to prove that she can be fun because her ex-boyfriend is a dick, said she was boring, and then broke up with her. Again, because that's what dicks do. So she wants to prove that she is exciting and thrilling still, and blah blah blah. So she lets her sister and these two hot guys in Mexico get her into the cage. Like, kind of get her into the cage and be like, hey, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be totally safe. Like, we'll even go first type deal. Even though she's having, like, no part of it whatsoever. And, you know, that's the smart person. Like, that's someone of good intelligence. Why am I stuttering with words today? The movie was so scary, I can't speak properly. I'm stuttering. I don't feel. No, but, you know, everything seems okay. They even kind of mentioned how fucked up the kind of situation is as they start chumming the waters. Like, hey, you can't really do that. That's kind of illegal. And in which she's promptly reminded that she's not in America anymore. But those kind of awkward, dumb moments aside, the star of the film is definitely the sharks. And maybe the cage, maybe the ocean, I'm not quite sure. you can make the argument that a big problem you can have with this film is that you really can't see the shark or anything or what's happening because the entire film takes place underwater. I would argue that that's shark's camouflage, and it makes everything so much more tense because you don't know when the shark's gonna be there. One of the sharks are gonna be there. Any shark's gonna be there. It can literally just kind of come out at you out of nowhere, and I think in a movie like this, where it is kind of so confined, you want that. With the entire movie taking place in a cage, you kind of want to have that unpredictability coming from all sides. Now, this movie's biggest problem, without a doubt, is the ending. And we're gonna talk about the ending in a little bit, but I don't want to spoil it quite yet, and also there's more things to talk about. But going into this, if you do still want to see this movie, you should know that the ending is rough. But before that, there are a couple of scenes where people are going outside the cage. One of the sisters leave the cage for a number of reasons. They talk about how the main character is not a diver and doesn't know any diving shit, and how this is going to be particularly rough because she doesn't know about any diving shit. She doesn't know the rules of diving. She's doing this illegally because it's not really diving, and a whole bunch of other bullshit. But her lack of knowledge definitely adds the intensity to the film. And the idea of being thrown in the situation where pretty much everyone around you is saying you're not going to make it out of this alive, and you don't know how you would even begin to get out of the situation alive, it makes the movie much more intense. It makes these moments, well, a character's by themselves way more intense than it would be if the character was just off by themselves with all the knowledge. The one issue I do have with the film is the amount of jump scares. Now, the movie itself, in my opinion, is pretty tense already, and you don't really need jump scares to kind of push the movie forward. But you do have them, and they don't... There are times where I feel like the movie is hindered by these jump scares. The movie loses some of its credibility with me as a horror film because of the jump scares. But then there are also moments where it makes a lot of sense, and there will be a jump scare. I mean, we're talking about a camouflage predator in his world, which is not reminded of to you, by the way, in the start of the film. Like, you are in a situation where you are supposed to be completely out of your depths here, and it definitely shows. So if you can excuse the writing in the beginning of the film and not parts during the end, you actually have a pretty fun time with it. Now, that's not exactly a glowing review, but is a pretty honest review, if I do say so myself, and I do. So now, I'm going to talk about the ending. If you still want to see this movie, GTFO right now. GTFO, GTFO, GTFO. Because spoilers ahead. One of these days I'm going to have to, find editing tools to just edit a thing on camera so I don't spoil shit. Okay. So, if you're still here, you want to know spoilers, then cool. Towards the middle of the film, last quarter of the film, you start talking about the nitrogen bubbles that form in your head if you arise too quickly, or if you kind of exchange tanks and all this other crap. Science, maybe fucked up science aside, you were pretty much told that, hey, you've been down there for too long in this really stressful situation, you might start hallucinating. It's just something you should probably know. And you start hallucinating. Now, this in itself isn't a bad idea. I mean, plenty of other films have psychological thriller films have done it before, and I don't have a problem with it. My problem is that it's kind of obvious once, if you're, let me rephrase that, if you're thinking about what's actually going on, it's kind of obvious, and that is my biggest issue. Her sister, Kate, right? The blonde one? Hold on. Yeah, Kate gets killed. And at this point in the film, you're kind of expecting someone to bite the bullets. And so it's not really a big deal that she dies, but it is pretty traumatic for Lisa. And the way she gets killed is that the shark comes and grabs her pretty much by the head. By the head and neck area. But she is hella dead. You don't need anyone to check on her pulse. She ain't gonna have a face. Which, that in itself, kind of provides an issue. Because all of a sudden we start to hear Kate's voice over the, like, subcom. I don't fucking, like, the sub headset. I don't fucking know. But they're talking to each other the entire goddamn time during this film. And that doesn't make sense either, but you know what? I have a high suspension of disbelief at this point, so let's just fucking go with it. It's confusing. I don't know how they're talking to each other, and honestly, I don't really care to try to figure it out. I also don't know how they're fucking talking with their mouths closed, but whatever. So she starts hearing her sister's voice. And she's saying how she's cold and how she's still alive, but she managed to get away and she's in a lot of pain. All these things kind of push Lisa to make this not so much a sacrifice so much, but gives her this new resounding effort to get this cage off of her leg. Because at this point the cage has fallen again and is now pushing her to get this cage off of her. And it becomes this very like, I would do this because my sister needs me moments. And it's kind of cool. Again, if you have that suspension of disbelief as high as you need to have in this moment. So she gets the cage off of her leg and this big hurrah moment, yay! Our hero is doing something heroic. That's cool. Let's continue this. And then she puts on the flares. You have this really tense moment where there's like 3 sharks, 3 of them, not just one like we've been led to believe, about to close in and eat the 2 sisters. These 2 sisters at this point have only have a flare to protect themselves, and it is tense. It's also in slow motion for a couple of seconds, and I don't know why, because why the fuck would you do slow motion in a horror film? But that's whatever. And they managed to get away by the skin of their teeth. The sharks do come back and basically rip their legs to shreds, but hey, you don't need legs, you're just swimming to safety. It's cool. And then at the end of all of that, you get the realization, and then what seems to happen is Lisa starts hallucinating then, at a point where she's out of the water. I guess we're supposed to believe that the bends have taken place in about 4 seconds. I don't know if that's how the bend works, but it doesn't feel like that's how it should work. After she's out of the water. And she starts hallucinating that her hand is still bleeding from an earlier injury. Which, that's the other thing. The amount of times these characters get cuts and I'm still like, oh, nothing's wrong. I'm perfectly fine. There are no extra sharks swimming to eat my face right now. Is kind of amazing. And not necessarily in the good way. And also, why is my phone making it sound? But not in a good way. It's kind of ridiculous. So you have this moment where they're kind of like, oh. She's staring at her hand, and the voices become distorted, and you start to realize that she has been hallucinating. This point in the film, I figured she had been hallucinating, but I wasn't quite sure for how long. I was willing to buy that her sister somehow made it out alive. I mean, After all, they fucking dropped that fucking gauge twice. Why not, right? So, I wasn't quite sure when the hallucination started and when they ended. And to find out that she never even got the cage off of her foot and she's kind of just been staring at her hand like she's been on meth for the past 20 minutes isn't exactly comforting. But then the Coast Guards come, get her. The Coast Guard, who has been called way earlier in the film, at this point come to save her and take her out. And they're all armed with spear guns. Because spear guns. Gun to save her, and it's all dandy. The movie then ends pretty much on a stock frame, which is crazy to think about. But the movie ends pretty abruptly as they breach the surface of the water. Apparently to say that now that their heads above water, the shark's like, bro, I can't eat them. I don't know about that, but it's what happens in the film, and you know what? I'm not gonna argue with the movie because that'd be silly. But I don't know. There's a part of me that while all that was happening, I was so just in the moment of sharks are gonna eat everyone, everyone's gonna die, this could be fun, that I wasn't really paying attention to the logic of the film. It's only after I kind of like took a step back while thinking about it while getting ready to record this video that I kind of realized that this shit has a bunch of holes in it. Yet still, at the time of watching it, I was having a pretty good time. I mean, I jumped at the jump scares. I felt tense the entire time in the movie. So I really did have a pretty fun time while watching the film. Is it a good film? No. And there are, as we've already discussed, glaring plot holes at almost every turn. But I still had a good time. And I was still kinda terrified at during parts of the film. But at the same time, I don't do horror films, really. So, maybe my bar is set pretty damn low, and I don't really have a basis of standing. But, I don't know. And that's going to be my review. So, thank you guys for watching. If you guys saw 47 Meters Down, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comment section down below. Is there another movie, more horror films coming out soon that you'd like me to cover? Or was this enough evidence to show you that I don't really know horror films or the horror genre or anything, or find anything surrounding the idea of spooks? If you guys hated the movie, let me know that in the comment section down below. And always, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.